Okay, let's begin. I know people are still joining us on Zoom and on Facebook Live, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for everyone who's telling us in the chat where you're calling in from, your name and your connection to University of Haifa. Please continue to do so. It's a really great group of people I see calling in from around the US and around the world with all sorts of connections to Israel and to supporting the Jewish community worldwide, so thank you. My name is Naomi Reinhardt. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the American Society of the University of Haifa. I'm calling in from Miami today, and it's really a pleasure to be here with you today. We're here to discuss a very, very important topic that's on a lot of our minds these days. On December 31st, University of Haifa, as many of you know, resumed studies after nearly 3 months of delay due to the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. Kicking off an academic year is already a very complex endeavor, even in peaceful times. But this year, of course, faculty and administration at University of Haifa and at universities all across Israel face 2 additional significant hurdles. First, how do we integrate around 1,500 brave student soldiers who had been serving in the reserves and defending Israel? And second, how do we maintain the university's most cherished goal, which is upholding its status as Israel's most diverse campus by far? The University of Haifa brings together Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Druze, and Bedouin students. They learn, they work, they socialize together in an atmosphere of tolerance, coexistence, and respect. And how do we do that? Not only in peaceful times, but in the most challenging of times today. The answer to that question lies in the fact that for 50 years, University of Haifa has played and will continue to play a very central role in ensuring that all sectors of the Israeli population unite to nurture their beautifully diverse civic society. And here to elaborate on these challenges, we have the great pleasure to host a special webinar with Professor Arin Salamah-Qudsi and Dr. Yael Granot-Bein. They are the head and the director, respectively, of the university's new division of diversity, inclusion, and community. They will discuss the obstacles inherent in maintaining harmony on our campus during wartime and the initiatives that they've been putting in place to preserve and uphold the university's multifaceted society and identity, and the implications of this for Israeli society as a whole and going forward. As I said, as Israel's most diverse campus, University of Haifa is strongly positioned to serve as a catalyst and a model of how we can start to heal and continue to study, work, and volunteer together in the future. During this period of time, the campus community is doing its best to remedy the situation, to deal with the situation successfully, and to thrive even in the face of adversity. For those of us who live in the US and around the world, we're primarily following the war in Israel through media and social media. But now we have firsthand accounts of people who are on the ground working together day in and day out with all sectors of Israeli society. They hope to provide some essential perspective to look beyond the surface when it comes to ethnic tensions and to understand that University of Haifa has a flourishing, diverse community, and it remains a cause that I continue to believe in and a lot of us continue to believe in. To support ASUH and the University of Haifa in our mission, you can visit asuh.org/donate, and together we will ensure that University of Haifa continues its inspired efforts to heal Israeli society even in its darkest hour. We want to thank all of you around the United States who have supported our important scholarship fund for reserve soldiers during this time. Over the past 4 months, we've had 1,500 students and 50 faculty members serving in the reserves, including 300 students in the security forces. Together, we've been able to provide emergency scholarships of around $500 to every one of these student soldiers. We're really grateful to all of you, and they're really grateful to all of you. With your help, we can continue to increase the scholarship fund, which is really desperately needed at University of Haifa, and ensure that our student soldiers who are continuing to serve and defend Israel have the financial assistance that they and their families need to do so. Again, we'll put the link to donate in the chat. Last but not least, I want to thank our sponsor for today's program, Rabbi Arthur Weiner and the JCC of Paramus Congregation Beth Tikva in New Jersey. Thank you so much for your support and your partnership. So without further delay, I'm delighted again to introduce Professor Arin Salamah-Qudsi and Dr. Yael Granot-Bein. I've had the pleasure of getting to know these women and their work during my time at ASUH, and I've been really inspired and delighted to see what they've accomplished and what they're going to continue to accomplish with this new division. As always, you can put your questions and comments in the chat and in the Q&A section on Zoom, as well as on Facebook Live. And after our conversation, we'll have time to address your questions for the second half of the webinar. So let's begin. First question I'll pose to Arin. Can you please describe the university's new division for diversity, inclusion, and community? What is its purpose, and how did it spring into action when preparing for this new, very unique academic year?
Well, thank you so much, Naomi, and thank you for inviting us for this important webinar. So the Division for Diversity, Inclusion, and Community is a newborn division at the University of Haifa. It was established only on the 1st of October this year, 2023, as part of the university's vision that sees the unique fabric of the University of Haifa as the leading university in the north of Israel. And it sees the uniqueness of these demographics as an engine for creativity, for innovation, for growth, personal growth, educational, academic, and of course, economic growth also. University of Haifa enjoys a great potential due to its location in the north and the texture of the population that lives here. Throughout its development, the university played a prominent role in the social mobility of its students and graduates, who usually come from the periphery of Israel. So as you may know, about 45% of our students in the bachelor degree are Arabs. About 19% of our students in the MA and the master degree are also Arabs. Almost 50%, half of our students are first-generation students. Half of our students are also of low socioeconomic backgrounds, who face a lot of difficulties due to the war and the damage caused to many branches in Israeli economy. Almost 1,200 students were recruited to the army, and they are now back with a lot of difficulties and a lot of problems of acclimation, sometimes even post-trauma. Many relatives of students and faculty members at our university were killed or kidnapped in Gaza envelope. One student in the campus of art, it's called the campus of Vitzu, in the city of Haifa, was even killed in the Hamas attack. Her name is Einav Hayman. Many of our Arab students also have relatives in Gaza. This data turned the recent period very challenging. From the other side, from the other perspective, the complex structure of the University of Haifa gives it the opportunity to act as a role model, not only for the other institutions of higher education in Israel or in abroad, but also for the whole society in Israel as well. Our division looks forward to be active partner in promoting the university's policies of diversity and inclusion among students, faculty members, and administration as well. We have a lot of targets and a lot of work, and we are here only for 3 months. So I would summarize our main targets that we put for ourselves. First of all, we would like to diversify the university's community, not only on the level of students, but also in the level of faculty and administration. We would like to promote belonging of the diverse groups that constitute the university's fabric. We also would like to promote the recognition of the university itself of its own uniqueness and strategic position as a role model for others. We also would like in our division to create a shared space that encourages creativity and self-actualization. We would like to promote different initiatives that guarantee the accessibility of education, of high education, and success for all groups that constitute the Israeli society. And finally, I would add also that the name of our division that me and Yael have chosen for our division was Division for Inclusion, Diversity, Inclusion, and Community, since we aspire, we look forward to bridging the gaps between academia and Israeli community, would like to contribute to the development of our community in Haifa, in the north, and in Israel as well, generally. So we have a lot of initiatives. We would like to talk about them. One of them, I would only mention one such initiative that brings the university to community. This initiative has to do with the Hebrew language proficiency among Arab students. We have a lot of challenges here, and problems that Arab students usually face due to their difficulties in mastering Hebrew language, caused us to find creative ways to help them master this language and to have a better and successful experience during their studies and afterwards when they want to go to the labor market after they finish their degrees. So this is one of the initiatives that brings the university to the community. I would stop here in order to proceed for more aspects of the conversation.
Thank you, Arin. That was very helpful. Yael, can you sort of continue to elaborate on what Arin shared in terms of the specific programs that the division will be including and sort of the idea behind the various programs that you're building there?
So I actually want to address what we did in order to get back to regular studies on campus with the situation of war going on. And as Arin described, we officially opened our division on the 1st of October, and on the 7th of October, we all woke up to this horrendous event, and the surprise, the factor of surprise and terror and shock that everybody experienced caught us as well. And we had to decide what we're going to do. And I think the biggest challenge that we were facing at that time was that we did not know anything about what's going on with our students. School was out, it was still summer vacation, and everyone was in a complete state of shock. Everybody was looking to see how this would affect us personally, if there's a all-out war, or is it only in specific areas? What about our students? What about studies? What about our families? So we started out by thinking, how do we get information about our students and about their needs? We realized that they had the need to talk. We just didn't know if they need to talk with one another or if they need to talk individually. So I want to share a small presentation that I made just to get the highlights. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So what we did was we figured that we needed to create safe spaces for our students to speak out about their feelings and about their thoughts, and that it has to be in their language. And we did not expect Arab and Jewish students at that time to sit together and speak. We thought that that was not appropriate. People didn't need that at that time. So we invited our students to what we called resilience groups, because we didn't want to talk about support groups. We didn't want to go into the professional psychology behind it. And we opened groups according to demand. I do want to say that more Arab students needed this, asked for it. So they had their Arab-speaking facilitator, and we had a group for Druze students, and we had a group in English for the international students, and we had groups in Hebrew for the Jewish students. And that was a way for us to learn what their needs are. And I think the word that really was in everyone's groups was fear. Everybody was so fearful, and they were fearful of each other. So the Jews were very fearful about going back to school with Arab students. The Arabs were so fearful of going back to school with their Jewish friends. They were afraid of weapons on campus because they know that we had a lot of miluimnikim, a lot of soldiers coming back. So they knew they would have weapons. That was an issue. So this was a safe space to talk about their feelings. The second thing we did was map out the needs of our faculty and staff, and we sent out online questionnaires, and we asked them 3 questions. What are your needs right now when you're working from home? What do you think your needs will be when we go back to school? And do you have any skills that you're willing to share with our other faculty and staff? So we have so many psychologists and so many social workers and so many wonderful researchers and practitioners, and we wanted to enjoy this was a time for them to, to reach out and help everyone. And based on their answers, which I can divide into 3 categories, most of the faculty said they were very concerned about teaching in a mixed class. What do you do when you need to teach about the history of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict in a class that has 40% Arab students and 60% Jewish students? So that was a great issue. The second category would be, what happens if we have students who are suffering from some sort of emotional distress? Computer science professors, what do they know about that? They were very nervous about that. And the third category was, how do we create or maintain resilience for ourselves? How do we concentrate on our work when we're so easily distracted? News is on for 24 hours a day. Some had children in the army. I have 2 children in the army myself, so that was an issue. Based on this information, we put out a series of 30 training workshops on Zoom. That it was like a supermarket. Every week we sent out the options, and faculty and staff could just join in during the day. And this provided them with the tools we think they needed, and really allowed them to speak, to share, to hear from experts, and to understand that they're not alone, and that they can actually have tools that will help them when we go back to school. And then we had to go back to school. Can you see the second slide? Is it okay? And we thought, what would be the best way to make sure that everybody feels safe on our campus? Because we heard from everyone, as I said, also from faculty, that they were really nervous about coming back. They were afraid of what will happen in class, but they were also afraid of what will happen when they bought their coffee or hang out on the lawn in the main building. What happens if people would get into an argument? And so we brought a group of students together. There were Jewish students, Druze students, and Muslim students, and we asked them to come up with a slogan that they would feel comfortable with and can come back to campus under this slogan. And initially, I thought I kind of pushed them to talk about something that has to do with a shared academic home, or keeping our shared campus safe together. And very quickly, they were very honest and felt very comfortable in saying, listen, not now. We're not ready to talk about shared society. And listen, this is too soon. So I asked, okay, so what do we have in common? And they said, we want to study. We just want to study. We want to go back to our normal routine. We want to graduate. And they came up with this slogan, University of Haifa continuing learning together. In Hebrew, it's ממשיכים ללמוד ביחד. Arin, what is it in Arabic? You're on mute.
Sorry. نستمر في التعلم معا in Arabic.
Great. Exactly what she said. So we translated into Arabic, and we created these shirts that you can see the students and the faculty wearing. It says, the slogan is in Hebrew and in English. And we also put it on the bracelets, the orange bracelets that you can see. And then we recruited 70 students, 70 students. Half of them were Arab, half of them were Jewish. and 50 faculty members. And during the first week of studies, we just spread out across all campuses in the Carmel Mountain, in the city campus, and in Vitzo, the art college. We handed out 8,000 bracelets. And this was an opportunity to talk to the students and ask them and make them feel welcome and tell them we missed you. We're so happy that you're back. And I was very worried. The night before, I couldn't fall asleep. I was afraid that, students would turn their back, wouldn't want this. I didn't know, we didn't know where they're coming from. What was their experience before? And I'm happy to say, I would say that 95% of the students were so happy to accept the bracelets. All of the Arabs that I had communication with were so happy to see a smiling face and get the bracelet. Some of the Jews were a little less, welcoming, but even them, they were very polite and they just said, lo mat'im li, not now, and it's okay. We told the students in the preparation session that part of diversity is an inclusion is also to respect those who don't feel that this is what they can deal with right now. It's totally okay. And then we created a series of 6 videos. We asked professors, Arab and Jews, to team up in pairs. And they also recorded very short videos in which they came out with the message, we're waiting for you. We're here. They spoke in Arabic, they spoke in Hebrew. We have one such example that we translated into English. So James, do you wanna show it now?
Yes.
I'll stop my share.
شلون معك؟ مثل بداية كل سنة تعليمية جديدة، أنا جداً متحمسة للقاء طلابي هاي السنة كمان، ولكن مع الأسف بداية هاي السنة مختلفة بسبب الظروف الصعبة اللي أثرت على حياة الجميع بطرق وبدرجات مختلفة.
יש בפנינו הזדמנות להראות שכאן באוניברסיטת חיפה אנחנו יכולים ומסוגלים ללמוד, לחקור ולעבוד ביחד בצורה מכבדת ומכובדת. שבמקום הזה אנחנו מאמינים ביכולת המשותפת, מקדשים את הגיוון, ויודעים שהוא כוח, שאנחנו יכולים להכיל אנשים שונים, מגוונים, עם דעות, עמדות ותפיסות שונות, ולהתנהג בצורה מכובדת, שאנחנו נייצג את ישראל הדמוקרטית, שמקבלת אדם באשר הוא אדם, ודוגלת בשוויון ללא הבדל דת, גזע ומין.
مشاعر كثيرة بتدور بداخلنا، منها القلق والخوف حول تساؤلات عديدة، مثل كيف رح تكون الأجواء بالحرم الجامعي، درجة الأمان، العلاقات الاجتماعية مع الطاقم التعليمي ومع الزملاء في مقاعد الدراسة. المشاعر هاي جدا طبيعية، كونوا على ثقة إنه معظم المتواجدين حواليكم عندهم نفس التخبطات، ولكن حبيت أقول إنه في الأشهر الأخيرة طواقم العمل بجامعة حيفا بالأخص الطاقم الأكاديمي بذلوا ولا زالوا عم يبذلوا جهود مكثفة لحتى يوفروا أجواء تعليمية ملائمة للجميع، مع الأخذ بعين الاعتبار جميع العوامل اللي ممكن تأثر على قدرة الطلاب على التعليم.
ונהיה נקודת אור, לא רק מבחינה אקדמית ומחקרית, אלא גם נקודת תקווה ואור למדינה ולעולם. שבקמפוס שלנו יכולים אנשים מכל הקשת הישראלית המגוונת, המייצגים את הפסיפס היפה של ישראל, לא רק לחיות ביחד, אלא גם לשתף פעולה בצורה מקדמת וחיובית. בואו נראה להם שאפשר לעשות את זה אחרת.
كونوا على ثقة إنه إحنا معكم ومتواجدين لأجلكم، ورح نعمل قدر المستطاع وشوي زيادة لحتى نوفيكم حقكم بالتعليم بأجواء محتوية مبنية على الثقة والاحترام المتبادل.
Right. So thank you. So this was for us, I have to say, and I think Arin agrees with me, this for us was also an amazing experience because every day when we went to film these videos, we had this, the news every day was so stressful and everything was so sad around us and funerals and death. And then coming to the university and meeting these amazing people, we were so it was such a positive experience, and we sent this out every day before the school began. We sent out one video to our students, hopefully that this will ensure them that they're back. And then, and I'm finishing my presentation now, school began, And we are continuing with two things. One is we realized that there would be issues that come up during the school year that we couldn't foresee during the break. So we are holding Zoom sessions every Sunday for any professor, any faculty member that deals with an issue, and they can just join and get a professional advice from a professor of psychology that we've hired and we pay for. And this is a way for us also to be aware of what's happening on campus. And some of the things that came up were really interesting. I can share later when in the question and answers session. And also we created a group in order to promote young student leadership, because there's a big difference between professors telling the students we are inclusive, we need to work for coexistence, as opposed to students doing this. So we gathered a group of about 20 students, half Jewish, half Arabs, and we're working with them on a weekly basis to come up with initiatives that they will manage on campus to promote values of shared society, even during this time. So this is very brief, but it kind of shows the thought process that was behind all these initiatives.
Thank you, Yael, for the presentation. That was really, really helpful also. Arin, another question for you is, of course, putting together such a diverse group of students and professors and administrators together under the microscope. Everyone's watching what's going on in Israel right now. It's, you can't sort of help but see it constantly in the news and social media and everywhere around the world. So despite all these potential conflicts and potential tensions, we have heard of almost no real conflict on campus. There's been some stories here and there of some social media posts and things like that, but beyond that, for a school of around 18,000 students, there's been almost no conflict. So is it due to all of the work that you two have been doing? Is it due to something unique to Haifa itself as a city? Is it due to the long history of University of Haifa working in this regard? What do you attribute this sort of lack of problems to?
I will try to explain this in a nutshell. So we do know that both sides have fears from the other side. They are still afraid and suspicious of the other side. The Jewish and Arab students, I mean, both are frustrated of the whole situation in the state. Jewish students have the national trauma, of course, after the October 7th. Many are student soldiers and family members who are recruited in the army and were killed even, and even kidnapped, of course. From the other side, the Arab students, we have also the students who were very concerned of the existence of guns, of weapons on campuses. The majority of them, we have to understand this point, the majority of Arab students come from villages who have high rates of organized crime and a lot of illegal weapons. So they have also the trauma from this aspect, from this perspective. They told us in the, as Yael spoke about the resilience meetings. So many students from the other side, from the Arab side, said that they feel suspected when they start talking in Arabic in the public space in Israel, and in the public transportation on campus. In the background, many surveys that have been done by different associations and organizations and research centers show that there are high rates of fear among students. The threat, there was also a threat of expected high rates of dropout among students from both sides, from the Jewish and Arab sides. Also, I just would like to, I told you before we started this webinar about the student association here at the University of Haifa, whose structure, agendas, and activities were very controversial. They don't have any Arab representative there. So, and they conducted something like a very aggressive campaign against Arab students, and they severely rejected what seems like a compromise agreement in the legal procedures that the university had with Arab students who were accused of incitement immediately after the war, after the October 7th. So all these contributed to the very tense atmosphere during the first weeks of the semester. This situation also encouraged us here in the Division for Diversity and Inclusion to take proactive procedures like what Yael explained, the Shared Society Trustees initiatives, workshops for students, faculty, everything. We have also to know that Arab students have a very specific approach towards the universities. They have always, or on the majority of cases, an instrumental approach toward university. So they come only for completing their degrees, and immediately after the war, the impact of their parents not to take part in any social media platforms, the activities done by many Arab leaders and activists to urge students, to encourage students of the Arab society to have much more empathy, of course, towards the national pain and tragedy. Many surveys also show that the majority of Arab citizens in Israel do feel empathy with the loss of civilian people, also in Gaza and also in Gaza envelope from the Jewish side of the map. We now understand also that after October 7th, we also have an opportunity, a good opportunity to strengthen the shared society values. Actually, what the universities have learned, the very difficult experience that the universities in Israel faced from October 7th to up to now, actually, is that the investment, the very investment in DEI offices of the offices of diversity and inclusion across the state is the only method to maintain resilience, strong and firm resilience inside these academic institutions. And I think that this is only the lesson that we have learned in general, in the general terms of the Israeli society as well. So if I would like to summarize the current atmosphere in our campus, I would say that I am satisfied, pretty satisfied, considering the ongoing war with all its consequences. I mean the encounter and the relationships from between the two sides. What happened in Israeli academia actually does prove that we have to strengthen the civil society. We have to establish a firm basis for the future, for shared society values in the society in general. So I would just stop here and would like to contribute later for the discussion.
Thank you, Arin. We've already gotten, first of all, I just want you both to know a lot of wonderful comments and kudos and congratulations in the chat. So I want you both to know how warm and receptive our audience is today. And a lot of them are already asking to collaborate and partner, and we'll share that information afterwards. Some of our audience members couldn't help but notice, as I'm sure all of us couldn't help but notice, that you chose not to name the division DEI. You know, the name is slightly different. DEI has become a sort of difficult concept for a lot of us in the United States, given what it's become, not only on the Ivy League campuses that are obviously in the news all the time, but really across the United States. It's become something that's associated with anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism, unfortunately, and it's sort of veered away from its original purpose. So can you talk a little bit about how you chose the name of your division? Is it the same as DEI? Is it different? And maybe what advice would you give to the universities in the United States that are struggling with how to make DEI inclusive and appropriate for everyone, including Jews and including pro-Israel students?
Yes, yes. So we have chosen the name like we would like to emphasize diversity. I know that the University of Haifa is very known due to its diverse fabrics, but we would like to speak more about not only about numbers, but also about policies and procedures and practical steps that we have to undertake during the coming future to promote the absorption and the integration of not only Arab students. By the way, we are working with a lot of diverse groups. We are working with third generation group. As I said, we have almost 50% of our students come from the periphery of the first generation. Me also, I am also a daughter of a family that has no access to higher education. So we work also with Ethiopian students. We have also the ultra-Orthodox Haredi groups of students. We have also students with disabilities. So we don't restrict our mission for the Arab students and Arab faculty members. By the way, I just would like to elaborate on the name DEI. Our division is called, as I said, Division for Diversity, Inclusion, and Community. And I said why we had why it was very important for us to integrate community inside our title, because we don't see that the university should be only an institution it's an institution for higher education, but it has to promote its role as an agent for social change, for all the groups that constitute the fabric of the population here in the north of Israel. I just would like to elaborate also on the DEI offices in the USA. I know I am aware of the complexity of the situation of the DEI offices and programs across the USA now. But I think that, and I'm sure that securing all students and keeping campuses open and welcoming for all groups of students, it's an uncompromising responsibility of the universities themselves, and DEI officers should give hand to this mission. There is no doubt in my eyes that the question should not whether the academia really needs DEI, because I'm aware to the fact that a lot of people ask themselves now, do we really need DEI in the universities? In Israel, this is also a question in a pretty different situation. Many institutions, also in the University of Haifa, people ask themselves, do we need really a new division devoted for diversity and inclusion? And my answer is that we have to ask ourselves how the universities should be committed to their responsibility and to give DEI officers the authority to do their job in making people more conscious of how an inclusive community would look like. I understand that controversy over the true mission and actual efficiency of DEI or whatever it's called, programs in USA. However, what we need is actually to encourage DEI officers to re-examine and reorganize the vision and activities that need to fit with changing realities. I have two notions here to make. First, attacking diversity divisions will not make Jewish students more safe on campuses. Second, DEI officers need to in my eyes, to re-examine their traditional mission and target audiences, to expand those and to include groups who were not considered the traditional audiences for inclusion policies in the past, of course, and including Jewish students. They need to be more attentive to the ongoing socio-political developments and to embrace all groups who turn to be the other on campuses. I think that exclusion is very ugly. And all we need to do is to teach our students how to disagree on different things and issues while respecting the other pain and suffering and protecting his free will to be what he or she is. I think that the diversity in Israel is of a crucial importance. Not only as an Arab woman, a first generation and underprivileged daughter of a family from Nazareth in north part of Israel, but also as a faculty member in the academic system dominated by a privileged majority whose values and worldviews mark the entire world in which I work and act. I do believe in diversity and inclusion. Those are by all means values that should be cherished in Israeli academia and in everywhere. No matter what, I think that when the academic institution has the other, both here or in the USA or everywhere, those others need effective inclusion policies. How to do it when a war and thousands of people are falling every day is a serious question that needs a thorough process of thinking. I think that diversity in Israel is not a mere concept of an instrumental strategy to attract students to the university. I think that the diversity and inclusion divisions in Israel is a lifeline in a place which is always exposed to political and military tensions and wars. We simply do not have any privilege to ignore diversity and inclusion in our institutions of higher education in Israel. This is the case in Israel. So I do believe I do know at the meantime that there is a very complex differences between the case in Israel and the case in USA. I'm not here to make the comparison, but I just wanted to say that in Israel, in the University of Haifa, even though we have high rates of Arab students, we do need diversity and inclusion policies, and we do need the division for diversity and inclusion. I would also say more about how the University of Haifa is more sensitive for diversity, because I'm very emotional. I was very emotional during the last 3 months when I just had the opportunity to meet our faculty members from the both sides of Jewish and Arab. And we spoke about what is happening in the university, what is the future of the university. And I found that we have a very aware and a very qualified faculty member in our university. It's very, it's very emotional. It gives us a lot of hope to maintain the situation, to improve the situation. And I think that what we are doing would not have been done if we don't have the a great assistance of our faculty members, of our students, great students, Jewish and Arab, Ethiopian, Christian, Muslims, Druze, every kind of ethnic groups and religious groups.
Thank you, Arin. I really appreciate that explanation. I want to turn to the Q&A. We have a lot of questions coming in, so I want to address as many as we have time for. Yael, I know we've talked about this, but someone has been asking about what opportunities there are for the various groups on campus to get to know each other outside of the classroom. For those who, for those who have the time and the opportunity and are not working and having to be with family all the time. What are the volunteer and other opportunities that you bring them together in Haifa?
So before I assumed this position, I worked as the director of the unit for social engagement at the Office of the Dean of Students, and this is where everything that you talked about is happening. The programs that we have at the Office of the Dean of Students are community outreach programs where we make sure that Arab and Jewish students go out together into the community and work together. They do so for two reasons. One is because Haifa is such a diverse city, so almost every initiative that we think of has to do with shared society, so schools and community centers and social activities and such. And the second reason is that they serve as role models. So when they go into a school as a Jew and an Arab, and when they go into community students as a Jew and an Arab, they give out the best example of how we can work together and aim at the same shared values and aims. We have about 500 students each year that are active in these kind of scholarships and activities. And I can honestly say it changes lives. I've had, just to give you one example, last week I brought in, Arin also participated, I brought in somebody who founded an organization for shared society in Israel, and I wanted him to speak to the students, Arab and Jewish students. And for an hour, he talked about what they do, how they go into villages, Jews and Arabs together, and how they provide help for all kinds of groups. And at the end of the talk, 3 Arab students raised their hands and said that they had no idea that these kinds of initiatives even existed. So we have young Arab people in Israel who are not aware that we can actually work together. This was mind-blowing. I had no idea, because for me, it's a way of life. For Arin, it's a way of life. But to realize that somebody could, be 20, 21 in Israel and not be aware that there are such beautiful initiatives in Israel. So this is one of our aims, to expose the students to the possibilities and then help them understand that it is within their own power to be social agents of change and work with the community.
Thank you.
And I see someone is asking about leadership workshops. I'll just say, yes, we also have that. Arab and Jewish students sit together for a weekly session with an Arab facilitator and a Jewish facilitator. Last year, we sent them on a cruise together for 5 days during Pesach, and they had to cook their own meals, and the Muslim students had to be considerate of the fact that the Jews did not eat bread, did not eat chametz. It was a shared society living on the sea. It was an amazing experience. They ended up having in Akko afternoon dinner. It was wonderful. So yes, the answer is yes.
Thank you. That sounds great.
Yeah,
think
it
a lot
was
of
actually.
people do that. Another question, you've obviously been creating a wonderful model at University of Haifa, partially out of necessity, given the population of the University of Haifa. Obviously, the other universities and colleges in Israel have a slightly different population makeup, but can your model be replicated and taught and shared with, other universities in Israel, or are they too different? And can it be shared with other institutions, not just universities and colleges? But how are you trying to maybe model what you're doing for the rest of the country?
I think that this is the case. I am a member of the forum that has the officers of diversity in the different 6 or 7 universities in Israel. Yael also a member in another parallel forum, and people there were very excited when when they knew that University of Haifa finally has its own division for diversity and inclusion. And they also always told me that we looked forward to this because we know that the University of Haifa is a model. We can learn a lot from the experience and the case of the University of Haifa. The Technion, for example, which is our neighbor in Haifa, has a slightly close demographics of students there. They don't have, for example, 45% of their students as Arab population, but they have something like 30%, I think, or 28% of their students who are Arab, from the north, from the periphery, from the same background. And they always told me that we are looking forward to learn from the university and to know how to deal with this complexity inside it. So yes, and the initiative, the interesting initiative that Yael told you about, the Shared Society Trustees, was very interesting for many universities, and it was like very common, and people wanted to replicate it and to make it and to copy it, actually. So we don't think about how to be, how to teach others, but we are doing. This is what are we doing in a matter of fact. The complexity of our university, the uniqueness of its nature, makes it a role model. In fact, in a matter of fact, yes, this is the question. So it's really what is happening.
Thank you. Another question, someone in the chat asked if any of the students or faculty have family in Gaza. I know that they do. Obviously,
Yeah.
There's also still some students and faculty who are in the reserves fighting, who will resume studies, when they're able to get back. We don't know how long this war will go. We don't know what the war will entail in the north. We talk a lot about the South, obviously that was affected on October 7th and since then, but the North is also being affected as well. We don't know what that will look like going forward. Do you have a sort of long-term plan of how your division can help, depending on how long this war goes, and once the war hopefully finishes, what is your long-term vision for how this division can help, heal and move forward and create even more sort of peace and harmony and coexistence on campus?
So Nomi, I want to go back a little bit before that, because I see some of the questions and the fact that we have students with family in Gaza. We have Druze students who serve in the army, but are conflicted because they also, some of them feel associate themselves with Palestinian causes. I think the very delicate dance that we are dancing is successful because we keep it academic, because there are some things that, and this is my personal opinion only, I hope I'm not, saying something that upsets anyone. I think the success that we've accomplished for now, I'm very careful because you don't know what will happen tomorrow, is because we're keeping it within the limits of academia. There are some things that are just not things that we want to deal with now. Arin and myself, for example, I'm a Jew, Arin is a Muslim, and we work so well together, but I think there are some boundaries. Some things this is not the right time to go into. I'm not asking Arab students what they feel towards the war. I'm not saying my own opinion about, the situation. We keep it to a very, very defined boundaries. Everybody wants to study. They have a right to study peacefully. They have a right to be safe on campus. And as long as we keep these boundaries and we're careful about how we treat one another and the respect that we have for one another, and that's what we can deal with now. The situation is so huge. It is so huge that if we allow ourselves, I think, for 1 minute to step out of these boundaries, I'm not sure we'll be able to contain what comes out. So I think the secret is to really keep the boundaries and know what we're capable of containing and doing together.
We have to keep remembering that the university is a community of research and study. This is at the first place. And this is the safe zone for all of us. Some of the questions was if the Arabs in Israel, Arab citizens in Israel, speak Arabic or Hebrew. No, we speak both languages. I am an Arab and I speak Hebrew and Arabic, Arabic and Hebrew. And I think that our mission also in the division, and I bring you back to our agenda and our dream is to bring Arabs to speak Hebrew and to find themselves understand not only Hebrew but also the Jewish culture. And from the other side, our dream is to motivate Jewish students to learn Arabic and to find themselves understand also the culture, the Arab culture. And I think that this is one of the dreams that me and Yael dreamed about and planned for the coming years of our work together in the Division for Diversity.
Thank you. I know we're running out of time. We're almost at the hour. If either of you wants to give any closing thoughts, I know one of the questions, of course, was about some of the news articles that we've been seeing. We saw the piece on NPR, the New York Times, others who are, they thrive on controversy and drama. So they, picked on a few social media posts and students who were briefly suspended at the university. Again, in my opinion and many others' opinions, it's fairly minor given what could have potentially erupted on campus, given, giving testament to your important work that you've done to make the campus as harmonious as possible.
Maybe I'll finish with a small example. Exactly sure. This, okay?
Sure.
So we had the situation about 2 weeks ago where two young Jewish students were sitting in class, and right before them was an Arab, a Palestinian student, and his screensaver on his computer was Free Palestine and the flag of Palestine. They panicked. They went directly to the professor and they said, we can't sit in class together. This is terrorism. And, so the professor came to us and he said, what do I do? Is this a disciplinary issue? Is this an educational issue? And I think the way that we handle this is I think the essence of what we do. We talk, first of all, it's not a disciplinary issue. Of course, it's a free country. He can put us in computer, anything. But it was an opportunity, and this is what we talked to the professor about, to talk with the students, the Palestinian students and the Jewish students, about the impact of their activities on the entire community. What happens when you decide to put something on your screensaver? What happens when you decide to talk about something that might upset someone else? This became an education opportunity. This became an opportunity to speak to the students, let them know what effect they have by what they're doing. And this was the way this was done. And we deal with these kind of issues every day. And I think a lot of the young students are really just confused and maybe ignorant and need guidance. And they don't mean any harm. That's my opinion. They're not, they are as confused as everyone about the situation. And it's our job to guide them through it and use this as opportunities for dialogue and education.
Yeah, it's a must. It's a must now to start motivating students to start dialoguing, to start speaking to each other, and to start discussing their feelings. To tell, everyone has to tell his own story, and to tell it freely, and to tell it, for the other side, and to bring them together for dialogue. This is what we are trying to do. We were not so sure about the timing of that, but now we are pretty sure that we have to start it. So Yael started the group with the leadership, with the multi-ethnic leadership group with the students, and now we have to enlarge the scope, and we have to join more and more students to this conversation meetings and dialogue meetings.
Thank you both so much. It's been a really inspiring hour for me. I wish we had another hour to continue speaking and answering all of your questions. I'm apologizing to those of you who we couldn't answer today. We do record this session. We will share it with you in our newsletter in a few days. We'll also be posting it on our website and on YouTube for anyone who couldn't watch it. Feel free to, of course, share it with your family, friends, colleagues. We'll also follow up with all of you who asked to be in touch with Yael and Arin afterwards, or how to get involved with ASUH or University of Haifa. You can also email us at info@asuh.org, and we're happy to connect you there. I think someone just posted in the chat that you both give him hope, and I think that's a really good summary of this conversation. You're giving all of us a lot of hope, to the people of Israel and to all of us around the world who care about the future and the people of Israel. So again, thank you both for your time and your incredible work that you're doing at University of Haifa on the ground. I wish you both success in your future endeavors with this division. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. Thank you again to our co-sponsor.
Thank you so much.
Rabbi Arthur Wiener and the JCC of Paramus Congregation Beth Tikva. Again, if you're looking to give back to our students and faculty at this time, you can do so at asuh.org/donate. We will be having these webinars every couple of weeks. We'll send you an information about our next webinar in a couple of weeks. And to follow all of our important work, you can go to our website or follow us across social media. Again, we put all of that information on the chat and on Facebook Live. Please sign up for our newsletters. Please contribute what you can. Again, Am Yisrael Chai, and good luck to all of you as you continue the semester going forward at the university. Thank you, everyone.